Storm-grey clouds hovered over the ancient towns, casting shadows over cobbled streets and the weary souls who walked them. Some hid behind their walls, ashamed. Others shouted accusations at passers-by, desperate to mask their own guilt. But then, into this divide, stepped a man unassuming, yet transforming. His feet were dusty, his robe simple, his eyes filled with an unfathomable kindness. This was Jesus. And he hadn't come to condemn sinners. He came to save them. The scent of brokenness filled the air of the small village where he walked. A woman knelt at his feet, her sobs shaking her thin frame. The crowd was quick to judge her, their harsh words piercing the fragile silence like daggers. Her sins, they said, were written in bold across her life, unforgivable. But Jesus knelt beside her. He placed his hand gently on her shoulder, his touch weightless yet grounding. She wept harder, as though her pain was being drawn out, not to be wielded against her, but to be taken from her entirely. "Your sins are forgiven," Jesus said, his voice soft against her anguish. And in that moment, her tears turned from grief into gratitude. Further along, a leper stood trembling under the heat of the day, wrapped in stained cloths that hid his decaying skin. His eyes darted away from anyone who dared glance his way. The disease had stolen not just his body, but also his dignity. He lived at the margins, human in form, but treated as less. Most wouldn't even approach him for fear of contagion. But Jesus saw him, not as a plague to be avoided, but as a soul in need of restoration. To the astonishment of the onlookers, Jesus walked forward, closing the space between them. Then, gently, without hesitation, he placed his hand over the leper's shoulder, a gesture unthinkable to many. "Be cleansed," he said, his voice like spring water. Where there was once rot and ruin, there was now skin made whole, clean as a newborn child's. The leper gasped and dropped to his knees, tears streaming down his face. For once he felt seen, not in judgment, but in mercy. Nearby, a tax collector sat behind his wooden table, coins stacked high. Matthew, society's outcast, had grown quiet in the presence of this rabbi. No speeches needed, only the weight of something he had forgotten. Grace. Matthew had spent years taking, always adding to the pile in front of him. But now, with trembling hands, he began to drop the coins, one by one, into the leather pouch that once carried his greed. His eyes met Jesus, something stirring deep within him. When Jesus finally spoke, it was not an exclusionary condemnation, but an invitation. "Follow me," he said. And for the first time in years, Matthew stood up from behind his desk, leaving everything behind. Jesus' mission was radical in its simplicity, to love without condition and bring salvation without shame. He stepped into humanity's fractures, not pointing fingers but extending hands. For the guilty, for the fearful, for those who felt weighed down by the world. His answer was always the same: "Come to me." It wasn't judgment that drew people to him, but love. He didn't come to build barriers, he came to welcome those crushed by them, to save and restore, to remind us all that grace isn't based on merit, but on mercy. And it is mercy to which we are all invited.